Welcome to the very first episode of the NST, Northwest Senior Theater Focus podcast. I'm Ken Kane, I'm your host, I'm a member of NST, and during the next few weeks, in a few of these podcasts, we're going to explore our upcoming show, a little bit of the past of our group, and you'll get to know some of the people who will be playing roles in our next show coming up in May. First, I'd like to introduce Areanne Lloyd. She's the president of NST. She's also a cast member. Areanne, welcome.
Thanks, Ken.
Let's just jump right in. Give us a thumbnail sketch of the Northwest Senior Theater. Go back to when it started.
Wow, it started, I think, in 1991 or 92. I joined the company in 2015, and they had been at Alpen-Rose-Dairy Opera House at that point for at least 10 years. Overall, they were there for 20 years until the whole thing got shut down in 2019. And so then the pandemic hit, and then finally, 2.5 years later, we're going, okay, who are we? Where are we? What are we doing now? We had lost our director. We had lost half our cast during the pandemic. So it was like rebuilding the company pretty much from the ground up. And here we are now, still redefining ourselves, still figuring out, where we want to go, who we want to be, still inviting new people to come in. The unique, wonderful thing about NST is the fact that we were pretty much a family. We did a lot of things together in addition to the show. And it was one of the draws, I think, to keep the company together was that we all felt as if we belonged with each other. It was a very special kind of thing, and we're trying to build that up again.
Let's talk pre-pandemic for a bit.
Okay.
What kinds of shows, what kinds of things did NST do? And how often? Twice a year at that point?
The same as we're doing now. Twice a year we did a show in May and a show in November. We always sort of considered ourselves to launch the holiday season with a show the week before Thanksgiving. And it was a variety show, more of a variety show than we're doing now, only because we had the stage and the personnel to make it a variety. So there were a few more skits, there were some little bits, there were costume changes. It was a theater, so we had the opportunity to make use of all of the things that a theater affords.
Right. Things are a little different now.
A little bit, yeah. And it keeps changing.
Sure.
We had a director before who was with us for 10 or 12 years and did 2 shows a year, created and directed 2 shows a year for 10 or 12 years. And before Sue, Ray was the director for the same thing. Now, we have a wonderful director who's doing our spring shows, and we are looking for a holiday show director. So anybody who might be seeing this who would like to help out putting together a holiday show, let us know.
Let's talk about who is a candidate, not necessarily to direct the holiday show, but who's a candidate to be a member of the cast, and do you need performance credits in order to join?
No. People who can carry a tune are welcome to be part of this company, as long as they can carry a tune.
Sometimes that tune is Happy Birthday.
Sometimes. We can't correct people who have a hard time with that part of it, but we can correct choreography, we can correct staging, we can correct delivery, as long as you can carry a tune, and you like to perform, and you like to get in front of an audience and give them your best, you're welcome to join us.
Now, what about people who might not be wanting to get out on stage? Is there anything that they can do?
Absolutely. We always need additional help. We need help in the lobby. Creating the lobby staff is a job every show. We do have people who come back every show to help out, but we really need more people in the lobby to help out, volunteers. We do 4 shows each show, and we need about at least 10 people, 12 people helping out in the lobby for each show. We also frequently can use people backstage. Now, we can use people who are set designers and builders. We can use people who understand the technology of putting on a show. So if there's anything anybody likes to do around the theater, give us a call. We'll talk about it, and we'll see where we can fit you in.
There's even a need for money people, right?
My goodness, yes. How could I forget that? NST is always looking for people who make donations, people who are good at selling ads. Joni, who is our marketing person in the company, could definitely use some help getting on the phone to call people who might want to buy an ad in the program, people who know how to find grant opportunities and other bigger scale donors, because, you know, it takes us about $14,000 to put on a show. And we don't get that all back in ticket sales.
Sure, right.
But so between ad sales and ticket sales and grant money,
right,
we're still coming along.
You and I both have upstate New York in our backgrounds. I want to shift and let you talk a little bit about yourself. Tell me about growing up in the midst of a musical family back in that part of the country.
Well, actually, I didn't grow up back in that part of the country.
Okay.
I was born in Buffalo, New York.
Right.
It's where my parents met doing Gilbert and Sullivan. There was a Gilbert and Sullivan company in Buffalo, New York, and my dad was in the orchestra playing violin, and my mother was a character actress. And my mother's family was all in it. And they moved to Los Angeles when I was about 15 months old.
Oh, wow.
But music was always part of the family. We had the cast album of every musical ever performed and written. And my sisters and I would do the dishes at night after dinner and sing an entire score from one of those musicals. I mean, that's how we grew up.
I have to ask you, favorite Gilbert and Sullivan show?
Well, I don't know that I have a favorite, actually. I just remember Three Little Girls from School Are We? And I can't even tell you for sure which show that's from. Because my folks didn't really do Gilbert and Sullivan. They did community theater when they came out to
Sure.
L.A. And I'd come home from school sometimes, and my mother would be at the piano playing the piano accompaniment and singing the violin part that my father would play later that night when we were doing musical evenings. I mean, my mother was quite amazing. She could hear a song that she had never heard before, and halfway through she'd be harmonizing to it.
So let's talk about favorite shows of yours.
Oh, golly, we did South Pacific, we did Oklahoma. What else did we do? Those are the two that come to mind right away. Carousel. Golly, can't even think of the others, but we had them all.
Well, and what's interesting is, in some of our shows, we sort of concentrate on Broadway.
Yes.
And we've certainly done songs from those Golden Age musicals, but just to prove we might be chronologically old, but we're still a little hip. We do work in more recent shows as well.
Yes, more so as we move along and as we recreate the company. Some new people are coming in with new ideas about what the show ought to be and creating the show so that we are incorporating much more recent. Probably up until a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, I would say most everything we did was right up to the end of the 40s, 1940s. Mm-hmm. And now we've moved into the 50s and the 60s and now the 70s. And as we age and as our audience ages, it's all still relatable.
That's true. That's true. We even did, in the Broadway show we did a couple of years ago, we finished the show, we're close to the end, was Wicked, and that's 21st right. century show.
That's very true.
So we do have to be 55 or older to be in the troupe.
Yeah.
But we can have much more contemporary tastes as well.
That's true.
So after growing up singing and washing the dishes, I'm curious, where did the performance bug lead you?
For a long time, it didn't take me anywhere. After high school, I didn't really do much of anything until, I can't even remember how old I was when I finally said, I cannot sit in an office anymore. and I started going out on auditions, and I ultimately got into a professional musical in Hollywood, and then I got into the actors unions and just did little bits, and didn't really do a lot of singing till I moved up here. 13 and a half years ago.
I'll be darned.
And I don't know, everything changed when I moved up here, and I became something that I wanted to start doing again. So here I am.
Here you are. So let's pick up on that. So you moved here about 13 years ago. How long have you headed Northwest Senior Theater?
You know, I can't exactly remember, but I think it was around 2018 when I became president. And it started, it's been a very challenging period of time, I have to say.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I think, and I am coming to the end of my term.
Right, after the show's over, a few weeks after that.
Well, we'll have an annual meeting in June, which we always do, and the nominating committee will have hopefully already found my replacement. It's just time for me to let it go and give it to somebody who's got new ideas and new energy, especially new energy.
So over your tenure, both in the group and running the group, what are you proudest or happiest about?
I'm probably proudest about keeping us together as a group during the pandemic. There was a danger that we were going to cease to exist. And I would call Zoom meetings. We would find ways to get together, at least with some people, to keep in mind where we were going. There were some members that stayed involved in finding the new venue that we were going to be performing and rehearsing at, and staying in touch, keeping in touch, calling Zoom meetings, bringing everybody together to see everybody together on their computers. So I'm mostly proud about the fact that NST did not die through the pandemic. I'm very happy about that.
Not only didn't it die, but we're going on to our next show, which is in May, Battle of the Bandstands.
Yep.
I think that'll be a nice valedictory for you, actually.
I think so, too.
It's beginning to shape up. We're recording this interview. We're about a month into rehearsals at this point. And you'll hear plenty more about the show as we go forward. I think it's a nice way for you to close out your tenure as boss.
Thank you. I have thoroughly enjoyed being the boss, but it really is time. I'm getting older, my body is not serving me as well as it did, and it needs new energy. So, happy to go.
All right. All right. And we're happy to go too. We're at the end of our podcast. I want to thank you for joining Areanne and me. And I hope you'll be back. We will be dropping podcasts on a regular basis, weekly, bi-weekly, something like that, as we head up toward the show, Battle of the Bandstands, which is coming up on May 7 through 10 at Rise Church here in Tigard. In fact, we are in Rise Church recording this.
And I just want to point out that it's a matinee, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, so that people who are reluctant to go out at night, there's a great show for them to come to in the daytime.
And in the meantime, even between podcasts, you can check us out. We have a Facebook group called NST, Northwest Senior Theater and Friends. We also have a website which is chronicling our coursing through all these rehearsals, and that is NW Senior Theater, spelled with an R-E, .org. I hope we see you there too. Thanks for joining us today, and see you next time.